Leo was cheating on me. A one-night stand. Now the woman was here, standing in my husband's sleek office, demanding he take responsibility for the child she was carrying. Leo exhaled smoke from his cigarette, the tendrils curling around his unreadable expression. Then, as if it were the easiest thing in the world, he shifted the burden, the choice, the chaos, entirely onto me. "It happened once," he said, his tone flat and even. "If you can forgive me, we move forward. We try to make this work." He paused, letting the ash on his cigarette lengthen, fragile and ready to fall. "If not, we get a divorce." My stomach dropped, my blood pounding in my ears. "It was your fault, right?" I asked, voice trembling. He tilted his head slightly, a hint of a smirk on his lips. "If we divorce, you'll accept the blame. You'll take responsibility, won't you?" My marriage to Leo had been cobbled together from my sister's leftovers. Chloe, my younger sister, was a force of nature, radiant, confident, and stubborn as a mule. The idea of being tied down for the sake of some strategic family alliance felt like a sentence to her. So she took the generous trust fund top-up, $20 million, easy, and disappeared. Mother, heartbroken over Chloe's departure but unwilling to lose a son-in-law like Leo, shoved me forward as a replacement. "Any sterling daughter would do," she insisted, as if I were some interchangeable model to fill the void. But this was Leo Vance. In our world of inherited wealth and hard-won influence, he was untouchable. Chloe leaving him at the altar wasn't just inconvenient, it was humiliating. And now they expected him to marry me, the quiet, invisible older sister? Madness. Still, I walked into his office, presented myself as the solution, and to my astonishment, he agreed. "This year marks our 4th anniversary. Outwardly, we look like the perfect power couple. Behind closed doors, we are more like polite roommates sharing a bed. Even in our moments of intimacy, a formal distance persists, a quiet respect that borders on coldness. Mother's voice has never been far away, relentless in its judgment. You need a child. You're nothing without one. A baby is the only thing that will keep a man like Leo. What will you do if he walks away?" I always wanted to tell her, Leo isn't some dog to be leashed. And even if he were, would he ever obey? But I never did. Instead, I nodded, shrank into her expectations, and murmured agreement, the version of myself she hated most. She would roll her eyes, scoff, and leave, leaving me to collapse under her disapproval. Then, against all odds, the impossible happened. I got pregnant. My period was late, first a week, then 2, then 4. Last night, I finally took a test. 2 clear pink lines stared back at me from the white plastic. This morning, I went to the clinic to confirm it with a blood test. The doctor studied the results with a neutral expression. "You're 9 weeks along. Have you decided if you want to keep the baby?" "I think so," I said, the words strange and unfamiliar on my tongue. Leo had no idea. A child was never part of our cold, carefully planned 5-year arrangement. I needed to speak to him. Clutching the report in my purse, I drove downtown to his office. He was in the middle of a board meeting when I arrived. His assistant, Sarah, led me into his expansive corner office with the practiced warmth of someone who had seen it all. She placed a cup of coffee and a small plate of pastries on the desk. I lifted the porcelain cup, inhaling the rich aroma. Then paused. Could I even drink coffee while pregnant? A quick phone search confirmed moderation was okay. Relief washed over me. I took a careful sip, letting the warmth soothe my nerves. The calm didn't last. A commotion erupted in the reception area. A woman's voice, sharp, furious, cut through the office floor like a blade. I cracked the door and froze, staring at the scene. Security was holding a woman back, her face flushed with rage. "Get Leo Vance out here," she screamed, voice bouncing off the marble floors. "Does he think he can knock someone up and just walk away?" My stomach twisted. The humiliation was immediate, suffocating. I wanted to vanish. This isn't about me, I thought. Then Leo appeared, storming through the crowd. His eyes found mine at the doorway. In 2 long strides, he was in front of me, one large hand covering my eyes, shielding me from the spectacle. I recoiled instinctively. With a soft click, the door closed behind him, leaving us in silence. Wait. My husband had cheated, fathered a child with another woman, and she was here, and somehow I was supposed to remain uninvolved? It turned out I was involved, just not how I expected. Leo dismissed the onlookers with a single, cutting glare. He murmured something to the woman I couldn't hear, then guided her into the office, directly in front of me. His calm, composed demeanor was infuriating. I wanted to applaud. To cheat on your wife and handle the aftermath like a CEO managing a hostile takeover, it was almost impressive. The woman was cool, dressed in simple, expensive athleisure, her hair pulled into a high ponytail under a baseball cap. She sank into the leather armchair across from me, legs crossed, radiating an unmistakable, "don't underestimate me" energy. She was stunning. Sharp, delicate features, eyes both icy and magnetic. The kind of face it's impossible to hate. Too bad she had a sharp tongue. "So, you're the wife?" she said, glancing over me with casual disdain. "Divorce him." She pressed a hand to her flat stomach. "I'm pregnant. He needs to take responsibility." I bit my cheek, tasting bitter irony. "I'm pregnant too. Who will take responsibility for me?" Logic said I should have the upper hand. But in this battlefield of marriage, the person with the least to lose often shouts the loudest. I exhaled, emptied, and reached for a biscotti from the plate. Nutty, crisp, lightly sweet. Perfect. "Want one?" I offered, holding it out to her. Her expression twisted in disgust. She shot a glare at me, then at Leo. Is she insane? For the first time, Leo faltered. A frown creased his brow. He grabbed my hand and pulled me into the private lounge connected to his office. He smoked in tense silence, one cigarette after another. "It happened once," he finally said, his voice rough. "I was at a conference. Someone spiked my drink. It was an accident." "Audrey," he said, locking eyes with me, sharp and serious. "It was my mistake. You get to decide." He stepped closer. "If you can forgive me, we move forward. We make this work for real this time." He inhaled, and the word fell like a hammer. "If not, we get a divorce." The word hit my chest like a physical blow. My heart stuttered, then hammered against my ribs. I dug my thumbnail into the flesh of my palm, letting the small, sharp pain ground me. "It was your fault, right?" I whispered. "If we divorce, you'll admit it. That will be the story." Leo studied me with those piercing eyes. He was stunning, more handsome than anyone I'd ever met. I had always been drawn to him, especially in private moments when the layers of pretense fell away, when I could watch his eyes glaze with desire, listen to the low, intoxicating sound of his breathing. In those instances, I could forget everything else and lose myself completely. A divorce would be a loss. But it wasn't impossible. "So," he asked, his tone hardening, "you've decided on a divorce?" I nodded, gesturing vaguely toward the other room. "After that scene? I don't see any other way." "It's just my mother," I added, needing reassurance. "You'll tell her it was your fault, right?" The warmth in his eyes disappeared, replaced by a cold, unreadable distance that made my stomach tighten. I forced a calm breath, pushing the unease down. Leo straightened, brushing an imaginary speck from his suit. "Don't worry," he said smoothly. "I'll take care of everything." Relief washed over me. "Fine. In the divorce, you can have everything else. I just want Helios Pharmaceuticals." "Done. And one of the villas in the Heights." "Granted. Could I also have 300 million? Leo turned, eyes locking on me. "You want it all and a divorce?" His lips curved in a bitter, humorless smile. "Audrey, if we don't divorce, it's all yours anyway." I looked down at my feet, suddenly fascinated. "Well, you're the one who cheated," I thought. "If not for that, there'd be no divorce. And without a divorce, your wife and child would still be yours." "Wait. Even with a divorce, he'd still have a wife and child. Just a different pair." Damn him. A true businessman. Always calculating, always ensuring he came out ahead. Leo sent the other woman away. Whatever promises he'd made or threats he'd given, I had no idea. By the time I left the lounge, she was gone. The pastries were gone, too. Not a single crumb remained. I stared at the empty plate. As I walked out, I couldn't resist. I caught Sarah, his assistant, by the arm. "Those biscotti from earlier," I whispered. "Could you pack some for me?" Sarah's expression twisted in a mix of pity and disbelief. From behind me, Leo's voice cut the air, sharp and cold. "Pack them for her." The scandal would have been enough for one day. By evening, my mother was calling. The first call? Ignored. The second call? Ignored. By the third, I stared at the screen a long moment before dropping my phone into the sink filled with water. Finally, silence. And in that quiet, a single thought became crystal clear. I was going to have this baby. This child would carry part of me, grow from my body, become a new, independent life, connected to me by blood and bone. My family.
My ally.
Why wouldn't I bring this child into the world? Yes, I would have my baby. The decision filled me with a thrill I hadn't felt in years. I wandered to the wine cellar and uncorked a $40,000 bottle of red. Could I drink alcohol while pregnant?
No.
Wait, yes, in moderation.
So, cheers.
By 8 o'clock, my mother arrived. The pounding on the front door was deafening, enough to disturb anyone in the neighborhood. Lucky for me, our gated community offered a little buffer. I donned noise-canceling headphones and cranked the stereo until the floor vibrated. Still, faintly, I could hear her muffled screaming. I knew her script by heart. The uselessness of Audrey, followed by, what is Audrey's purpose for existing? No new material, no surprises, just the same exhausting performance I had endured for decades. Eventually, the noise subsided. Moments later, my door opened. Leo stood there, holding my waterlogged phone in one hand and a brand new device in the other, his face a mask of icy indifference. Put your SIM card in this, he said, clipped. The lab couldn't reach you, so they called me. Call them back. Now. I tilted my head. See, Leo? You were wrong. Wrong about what? You cheated, which is why we're divorcing. But my mother still came to blame me. He studied me, jaw tight, then exhaled slowly. I know. I'll handle it. Leo's handling it left something to be desired. 1 star. Would not recommend. My mother had stormed into his corporate office, requiring security to restrain her. I had been leaving the lab after an all-nighter, worn out, the experiments producing disheartening results. My team was demoralized. Leo always said leaders should inspire and encourage in moments like these. But they're human, I had argued. It's natural to feel discouraged. To me, the most inspiring part was their courage to fail repeatedly and keep trying. Resilience, I understood. My assistant's voice broke my train of thought. Dr. Sterling, your mother is here. She demands to see you. She could demand all she wanted. If I didn't wish to see her, she wouldn't. I took the private elevator down, planning to slip away unnoticed. But in the garage, she appeared like a ghost, eyes blazing with fury. There was no escape. I ended up buying her coffee. We sat in stony silence. Mentally, I tallied the days, 372 since we'd last met. Almost a new record. You're divorcing Leo? She began, skipping pleasantries. Yes. Are you insane? The verbal assault hit, without warning. Do you think you're better than everyone else? What man doesn't cheat? You're making a federal case out of nothing. If you're not ashamed, I am. Whose fault is it when a man cheats? I asked calm. It's yours. You couldn't keep him, couldn't control him. I told you, being book smart is useless. You have no social graces, no common sense. People say I favor Chloe, but if you were half as considerate, half as loving, you'd still favor her. I finished her sentence. She gasped, then shrieked. Audrey, must you always contradict me?
No.
I was just tired, pregnant, and the tiny life in my belly depended on me staying calm. I stood to leave. She reacted instantly, seizing my arm like a vice, face twisted in fury. Just like in my childhood, she raised her hand to strike me. Panic froze me. I could have dodged, blocked, even fought back, but my body betrayed me. I was a statue, motionless, powerless, breathless. Mom, the bright, cheerful voice cut through the tension like sunlight through clouds. My mother's raised hand froze midair, and her scowl melted into delight. Chloe stood in the doorway of the cafe, slightly breathless, but wearing a radiant, effortless smile. Chloe, darling, when did you get back? Why didn't you tell me? Chloe practically bounced over, squeezing herself between us, looping her arm through Mom's. She leaned her head against her mother's shoulder affectionately. I wanted to surprise you. Oh, Mom, I've missed you so much. Mom's eyes crinkled with happiness. I took a small, careful step back, giving them space for their mother-daughter reunion. My back pressed against something solid and warm, a wall of muscle. Chloe, how did you get here? Who picked you up from the airport? Mom asked. Leo, of course. They both turned, and there he was, Leo. His hand rested gently on my lower back. Are you okay? He murmured quietly. I drew in a shaky breath. So, I asked softly, did you and your former fiancé reconnect? His jaw tightened. For now, she is still my sister-in-law.
Oh, right.
So, how did you get in touch with your sister-in-law? His jaw twitched. Chloe didn't like it either. She pouted, disengaged from Mom, and inserted herself between Leo and me. Leo, what are you two talking about? I called your name, and you ignored me. She linked her arm through his effortlessly. Mom's eyes flicked between them, suspicion rising. Chloe, you too. Chloe flushed pink, stamping her foot playfully. Mom, don't be silly. She glanced from Leo to Mom, mixing coy denial with an unspoken message. Leo and I were just, oh, forget it. You're both impossible. Mom's expression shifted into triumphant understanding. Wonderful. Today is a happy day. Leo, come with Chloe. We're all going home for dinner. In that little circle, everyone was wrapped in their own drama. Only Leo spared me a final glance, fleeting and unreadable, before allowing Chloe to pull him away. From her arrival to her departure, Chloe never once looked at me. Chloe's return made life suddenly smoother. That evening, Mom texted me. If you insist on this divorce, get it over with. But since you're the one asking for it, you leave with nothing. Don't be greedy. Our family can't afford that kind of embarrassment. At 10 p.m., Leo showed up at the lab with food for the team, and we held a brief late-night meeting. As he was leaving, I stopped him. Is the divorce agreement in motion? Helios Pharmaceuticals, that's the bottom line. You can give me that, right? He studied me quietly. Is that all you want? Actually, no. Are you about to be demoted to my brother-in-law? And what about the mother of your one-night-stand child? A humorless smile curved his lips. He let out a cold, short laugh. Getting divorced and already worrying about your replacement? I pursed my lips. Just giving you a heads up. If Chloe ever wants a relationship with you, protect her. Chloe fears her mother when she's furious, even Chloe herself. He said nothing. I turned to leave, but his voice stopped me. Audrey. He hesitated, searching for the right words. Finally, after a long pause, he said, she has a name. Roxy. Oh, I never expected that. Mere hours after learning Roxy's name, I would encounter her. After deciding to keep the baby, I attended my first official prenatal appointment and scheduled additional tests. Just as I was leaving the hospital, my old mentor called frantically. Audrey, your mother tried to force someone here into an abortion. She's trying to revoke my license. The depths a person could sink to, ignoring another's will, body, and basic rights, were staggering. Because our family held significant shares in the clinic, Mom assumed she wielded life and death power. I didn't hesitate. I called the police. Then tried to reach Leo. No answer. I turned the car around and headed straight for the clinic. When I arrived, chaos ruled. Two groups faced off, one restraining my mother, the other holding back a furious Roxy. You shameless little tramp. Mom screamed. A homewrecker, pregnant with a bastard child. If your mother didn't teach you decency, I will. Who do you think you are, yelling at me? Roxy snapped, straining against her restraints. I don't take kindly to yelling. I was bitten by a dog as a child. Are you calling me a dog? Mom hissed.
No.
I'm calling you a bitch. Old woman. Step closer, and I'll show you what I can do.
Huh.
You seduce a married man, and think you're right? Why not strip and parade down the street? Is that what you did? You sound experienced. Mom was a storm, Roxy, a hurricane, matching blow for blow. Without the guards, it would have been violent. Then the police arrived. And my father, Richard, appeared, decisive and commanding. He strode forward and slapped my mother across the face. Shut up. Haven't you embarrassed us enough? Mom fell silent, shrinking. He turned to Roxy. Miss Roxy, I apologize for this chaos. Name your price, whatever it takes to resolve this. Neither of us wants escalation. Roxy, hair messy, clothes disheveled, laughed bitterly. Resolve this?
No.
I'm pressing charges.
Suing.
I'm going to. Crack. Another slap, this time across Mom's other cheek. Is that enough? My father asked, voice calm but dangerous. The crowd froze. Roxy's jaw tightened. Her face mirrored shock and disgust. I stood at the edge, foot trembling, hands clenched into fists. One slap. Is that enough? Another slap. Is this enough? Mom dragged me forward, shoving me in front of Roxy and her family. If that's not enough, how about this? Another slap. Roxy had ruined my exam paper. I pushed her. She fell, crying, claiming I hit her. Mom slapped me without hesitation. Then, she turned to the other family. Enough? I don't remember the pain. I remember dizziness and a sudden, warm, humiliating shame spreading over me. I had lost control in front of everyone. As a child, I could never understand why my parents didn't seem to love me. I earned straight A's. I grasped new concepts quickly. Teachers praised me. Strangers complimented me. Everyone except my parents. My father's gaze often slid right past me, as if I were invisible. My mother's eyes were always cold. So, you got first again? Trying to show off? Get out of my sight.
You irritate me, she would snap.
Accomplishments meant nothing. Mistakes, no matter how tiny, became monumental failures. She examined me with the scrutiny of a merciless inspector, finding any flaw and turning it into a festival of cruelty. I lay on the living room rug, staring at the ceiling, lost in thought. I didn't notice Chloe approaching until her face appeared above me. Did you see my texts? I called you 1,000,000 times. You just ignored me, she whined. Audrey, you're being so mean. I rolled over and closed my eyes. With a dramatic sigh, Chloe flopped down beside me. Dad confronted Mom, she said, staring at the ceiling. He told her that if she lost Leo as a son-in-law, he'd bring Ethan home to live with us. Ethan, my father's illegitimate son, 2 years older than me. Mom had a meltdown, Chloe continued. Smashed everything in the living room. Now she insists I have to marry Leo. She rolled her eyes. So, when are you and Leo actually getting divorced? I didn't answer. I tried to slip upstairs, but she grabbed my arm. Play chess with me. I chuckled dryly. You? Play what? Tic-tac-toe? You're awful at chess. Her grin widened. Come on. 2 games later, each lasting over 40 minutes because Chloe agonized over every move, I drifted off mid-second game. She noticed, waved a hand in front of my face, then tiptoed away. Moments later, she returned with a soft blanket and draped it over me. Holding her shoes in one hand, she quietly slipped out, leaving me in peace. Chloe had asked an important question. When would Leo and I divorce? He'd been away on business for several days, returning today and going straight to the office. I drove over immediately. I was too late. Sarah, Leo's assistant, blocked my path with an apologetic expression. Dr. Sterling, the president's office is occupied. By whom? Roxy. Miss, Roxy is with him.
Ah.
She was likely here to enforce her grievance after the hospital incident. Nothing to do but wait. 13 minutes passed. Leo did not emerge. Instead, Chloe and Mom arrived. Sarah tensed completely. 3 women, all pressuring him about a divorce, was more than anyone could handle. Mom's gaze fixed on me, her expression sour. What are you doing here? Her cheeks were still slightly swollen, faint bruising visible beneath makeup. Getting a divorce? I replied, looking away. She snorted derisively and pulled Chloe into a chair opposite me. Chloe, absorbed in her phone, ignored the tension entirely. You wanted this, Mom hissed. Besides, Leo was always meant for Chloe. You were just a placeholder. And all of this, the mistress, the bastard child, your fault. Audrey, did you do this deliberately? I took a deep breath. Forget it. I'd rather face the mistress. I stood, ignoring Sarah's shocked face, and pushed open the office door. Mrs. Sterling, you can't, Sarah's protest faltered. Inside, the scene froze me. Roxy had Leo pinned against the wall, fists gripping his collar, body pressed close. His eyes burned, but the mix of anger and something else was unreadable. They both snapped their heads toward me, ferocity mirrored on each face. There was no place for me here. Roxy's expression hardened. She released Leo, grabbed her baseball cap, and jammed it on. You people are insane, she spat. I remembered the even crazier person outside, about to warn her, but Mom had already stormed in. Get out of my way. I gave Leo a thumbs up.
Wow.
She's got presence. He loosened his tie, voice low. What are you doing here? My smile faded. Is the divorce agreement ready? His motion slowed. Audrey, if I hadn't cheated, would you still want a divorce? The question landed strangely, out of place, silencing me. A bitter laugh escaped him. I knew it, he said, nodding. Don't worry. The agreement will be in your email by tomorrow. Turning away, he added softly, almost under his breath, I never really liked you that much anyway. The words lingered, but he wouldn't elaborate, and I didn't ask. True to his word, the next day at 5 p.m., the divorce agreement arrived. The financial settlement exceeded expectations. I read each clause carefully and signed. That same day, Ethan called. He was ready to make his move. Was I prepared? When I was 8, Ethan's mother died. He appeared at our home like a wild animal, sinking his teeth into my father's arm. That was his introduction to us. His arrival only intensified my parents' dislike of me. I didn't cry. Chloe, only 5, sobbed and clutched my father's arm, asking if it hurt. He cheated, had a secret child, and I was supposed to mourn for him? Father shook his head. A thankless child. You can't tame a wolf. Mother yanked me by the ear, tossing me into the rain. We raised you for nothing. You can't even cry? You cold-hearted little monster. Ethan was outside too, soaked by the same storm. Our mutual hatred mirrored each other. Though my father never brought him home, he sent monthly support payments, which Ethan accepted. His only advantage, he was male. But he refused to work for father. Untamable, his existence remained a secret. Years later, after marrying Leo and establishing myself at Helios Pharmaceuticals, I sent Ethan his first substantial payment. He asked what I wanted in return. I said, their power. The couple who had children treated none of us as humans, objects, possessions, tools. What gave them that sense of absolute control? Wealth? Status? I wanted an experiment. If stripped of everything, would their power over us vanish too? Do it, I told Ethan. I don't need preparation. I'm just watching. September 8th, a bright, clear Monday. Leo and I met at the lawyer's office to finalize the papers. With no disputes, the process was swift. Less than 30 minutes later, we were officially divorced. Stepping into the sunlight, I turned to him. I'm pregnant. Leo froze, confusion flickering across his features. His head turned slowly, almost mechanically, as if his muscles didn't quite remember how to move. What did you say? I'm pregnant, I repeated. This time, he seemed to forget to breathe entirely. His eyes spun with emotions I couldn't even name. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Why now? I didn't want to complicate things unnecessarily. But eventually, you would have found out. Selfish, I knew. My focus was solely on myself. All my life, my mother had drilled into me the idea of doing the right thing, right for her, my father, Chloe, everyone but me. My own needs were never considered. I had fought for freedom from that cage only to feel trapped again. When I learned I was pregnant, and that Roxy supposedly was too, the right choice would have been abortion. Leo would remarry, and my child, a living blood tie to him, would only create complications. But I wanted him. My child. Mine alone. Leo, I said firmly, you can be in his life if you choose, but you will not take him from me. Chloe ran off again. The moment she confirmed my divorce, she booked her flight. Do you have enough money? I asked. Plenty, she said. Take more. There won't be any more after this. She understood my warning and fell silent. Her relationship with our parents was the most complicated. They had shown her the most love, but what seemed like affection was smothering, and beneath the sugar coating, it was toxic. I don't know, she murmured, fiddling with a loose thread on her sweater. I'm not like you guys. I'm not smart. I've never been good at anything, not piano, painting, dancing, not even chess. So, just let me be the one who doesn't know anything. Because honestly, I really don't. She hugged me tightly. Goodbye, Audrey. I stiffened briefly, then gently patted her back. I had always known her to be soft, deeply kind. As children, if she had piano lessons, I had to sit with her. While I mastered pieces effortlessly, she struggled with the basics. Frustration turned to tears, and punishment. Mother would strike our hands with a thin bamboo cane. You're supposed to help your sister, not show off. Why are you so competitive? She would scold. My hands would swell painfully, making even chopsticks unbearable to hold. At dinner, she'd snatch them from my bowl and fling them at my face. If you won't eat, get out. Don't dare show sadness. The side of my face would sting. My mouth would taste of coppery blood. Yet Chloe would sneak in at night, pressing a piece of candy into my hand. For you, Audrey. I would stare coldly, throw it away, push her aside. She would cry silently, muffling her sobs with her hands, her face red and fearful. I hated her for it. Hated her clumsiness, her tears, because when she suffered, I was punished too. When did that change? When did I realize she wasn't so bad? It happened when she wanted to learn Go. In our family, one could accept what was given, but never ask for anything. Mom, Chloe said one day, I want to learn Go. Mother's frown was icy. Chloe, I will have to criticize you for this. Why jump from one thing to another? Have you made progress in English tutoring? Why waste your father's and my money? Chloe shrank, but turned pleading eyes to father. Daddy, can I learn Go, please? Father waved it off. If the child wants to learn, let her. It's not a big deal. Mother controlled our lives, so she gave Chloe the silent treatment for a week. Chloe followed, offering water, shoulder rubs, murmuring, Mommy, please. Finally, Mother relented. Oh, you. Too sweet and thoughtful. How could I stay mad? You want to learn Go? Of course. Whatever my Chloe wants, she gets. I never asked why she insisted on Go, but I loved it. I would sit for hours, playing, studying strategies. It was my anchor, the one thing that could calm the buzzing chaos in my mind whenever anxiety or overwhelm threatened to take over. Ethan was merciless. He didn't just dismantle our father's company, he made certain Richard ended up behind bars. On the day of the arrest, my father raged like a cornered animal, eyes wild and bloodshot. It took several officers to restrain him. I should have killed you, he screamed. The day you were born, I should have killed you. Later, Ethan poured a whiskey, his voice low. I still hate him. Not a bit less than before.
He looked at me.
Your experiment had failed. How could it have failed? Ethan's mother had worked herself to exhaustion to give our father a leg up, waitressing, scrubbing dishes, any job she could find. And then Richard met Eleanor and her family money. Without hesitation, he discarded Ethan's mother, fearful that her presence would tarnish his polished image. He played the victim, spreading rumors of infidelity against her. A woman's reputation, once tainted, rarely recovers. She nearly drowned herself, but she was pregnant. She endured for her son, raising him until he was 8, her body worn down by hardship and heartbreak. She had no choice but to leave Ethan in the hands of the man who destroyed her. Yet Ethan, piecing together whispers and taunts, understood everything. How could he not hate him? And me? Did the experiment work for me? Not entirely. I still feared my mother. When she confronted me after the company's collapse, rage contorting her face, demanding explanations, my chest tightened with that familiar, suffocating fear. But this time, I stepped forward, fists clenched. I will support you financially, I said, voice calm but firm. But it's conditional. No contact. No interference. If you break this, you get nothing. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. The buzzing in my head went silent. I told Ethan. It wasn't completely useless. A short, humorless laugh escaped him. He pushed the whiskey toward me. To our partnership. She's not drinking, Leo said, appearing suddenly. I hadn't seen him since the divorce. He still held shares in Helios, but had vanished from the office. He stood beside me, grim, picked up the glass, and drank it in one smooth motion. Sharp click. I said, she's not drinking. Ethan smirked. Stay away from her. Or what? Leo's voice was low, dangerous. That suit might get ruined. I placed a hand on his arm. Leo, don't. It's Ethan. Leo froze, face darkening to an ominous shade. Ethan simply raised an eyebrow, drained his drink, and clapped me on the shoulder. Looks like you don't need me anymore. I'm out. He left as abruptly as he had arrived, leaving an awkward silence. Did you bring a driver? I asked. No. Should I call one? Roxy. I hesitated. No, that wouldn't be right. I don't need your help. Leo snapped, cutting me off. He stormed away without a backward glance. Was he angry again? Pregnancy is strange and wondrous. I never so vividly understood the concept of a life force. This wasn't a textbook abstraction. It was a tiny person, stubbornly building itself within me, following an ancient blueprint, growing piece by piece. Its heartbeat merged with mine, a separate rhythm syncing perfectly with my own. The bond made me feel vulnerable, yet more powerful than I ever had. I devoted myself to work and careful self-care. The child seemed well-behaved. No morning sickness, no food aversions. I even gained 5 pounds. At 16 weeks, I had a checkup. Stepping outside, I saw Leo's car waiting. We had barely spoken in weeks, and only about work. He looked drained, rubbing his temples. I'll take you, he said hoarsely.
Don't refuse.
I'm the father, and I won't fight custody. But I don't like the idea of you going alone. I didn't move. He is my child. You are the majority shareholder. That's our connection. I don't need care from you. You're crossing a line. Leo flinched. Do you have to be so absolute? Leo, this is logical. We belong to different families now. And oh, he roared, voice cracking. I never cheated. Roxy wasn't pregnant. We could have stayed a family. We have a child. We could. He stopped, despair washing over him. Hollow laugh. You didn't care, did you? He whispered. The whole story had holes. You knew. You just didn't question it.
His words stunned me. Knew what?
Roxy wasn't pregnant?
I knew.
It took a moment to piece it together. I didn't know his reasons for the elaborate lie, but one truth emerged clearly. We could be ruthless business partners, but never husband and wife. Our only massive fight came years ago. He drunk-dialed me after a business dinner for an hour straight. My phone, locked in the lab, was silent. By the time I returned home, it was 4 a.m. He sat in the dark living room. Why are you still up? I asked. That question triggered his rage. He smashed everything and suspended my work indefinitely. He wanted a wife to manage the home, raise children, and be waiting no matter how late he returned. But that was never our agreement. For years ago, I'd walked into his office with my resume. I offered value to his company. In return, I needed the status of his wife to escape my family. We were married, but partners first. We were always going to divorce, I said softly. If you needed to end it, you could have just said so, he murmured. Leo stared at me, pale and unreadable. Did you ever love me? I didn't know how to answer. I wasn't even sure what love was supposed to feel like. I liked his face. I liked his body. I enjoyed our intimacy. I appreciated the lab he had provided, state-of-the-art, and everything I could want. But I never wanted to spend my life with him. That seemed like too much work. I think he understood my silence. He nodded slowly, pressing the heels of his hands against his tired eyes. Good, he whispered. Because I never really loved you that much anyway. The car window slid up, and he drove away. At 19 weeks, the baby was healthy, the size of a large apple. Chloe returned from her travels, announcing she'd stay with me for a while. Mostly, she just ate, slept, and insisted on taking photos of me holding an apple against my stomach. I was at a vineyard once, she said, editing a photo, and saw an amazing 2008 bottle of wine. In 2008, I was 8. If I'd saved that bottle, it would be perfectly aged now. But I didn't. So now, I don't have it. She looked at me seriously. The past is gone. You can't go back. If you don't act in the present, you'll lose the chance in the future. I narrowed my eyes at her. When was your last physical? What do you mean? Are you dying? Are you trying to curse me? Okay, fine, I was overthinking it. Later, I ran into Roxy again. It started when Chloe, during a late-night stroll, discovered a club with an impressive female DJ. She sent me a video. It was Roxy. Chloe began going to the club regularly. One night, she got drunk, and I went to pick her up. Roxy was there, making sure Chloe was okay. No wonder her voice on the phone had sounded familiar.
Long time no see, I said.
Roxy nodded. You should watch her more carefully. A girl this drunk here is asking for trouble. Thanks. I'm leaving. Wait, Roxy. I called, gesturing at Chloe's limp body. Can you help me lift her? Roxy frowned, glanced at Chloe, then my pregnant belly. With a sigh, she hooked an arm under Chloe and effortlessly lifted her. Where's the car? Chloe promptly threw up in the car and over Roxy. For a second, I thought Roxy might kill her. At home, Roxy went straight to the shower. Want a glass? She eyed my belly. It's for you, I said, holding up a glass of milk. Roxy ignored formality. Sitting cross-legged on the rug, she drank half the bottle, pleasantly buzzed. Your family is insane, she said. I didn't argue. She laughed bitterly. But who isn't? How many truly normal people exist? You're drunk. I've been drunk for years. Right now, I'm sober. She looked at me. Why the divorce? I thought, I don't need a marriage. Then why get married? Because I needed one. Roxy frowned. Are you messing with me? I smiled. Back then, I needed marriage as a tool, not a life sentence. It was strategic, not forever. Roxy went silent, poured herself another glass, and drank. I should have realized I wasn't pregnant, she murmured. But you should know. Leo and I almost slept together. We were close, tearing at each other's clothes. Then he stopped. That's when he told me he was married. Roxy nearly stormed off, but Leo intervened. He offered me $100,000 to play along in a little drama. I asked why. He said he wanted a divorce, but needed to see if his wife agreed. Roxy shook her head. He's sick. I don't know why I'm telling you this, she said. Maybe because I admire your choice. Stick with it. She slept in the guest room. The next morning, the room was tidy, and she was gone, taking the trash with her. I could tell she carried a story. Years later, when my daughter could run, Roxy became a frequent visitor. We became friends who could talk about anything. That's when she told me the full story. Leo had asked her to fake a pregnancy. She nearly punched him. She had probably been unable to have children. She'd spent 3 years with a deadbeat boyfriend who lived off her money and criticized her for working in nightclubs. Once, after a fight, she found out she was pregnant. How do I know it's mine? He sneered. Young, reckless, proud, she cut her own wrist to prove loyalty. He felt no regret. Not long after, she became pregnant again. Let's marry, she pleaded. Married? With what money? We can't afford a kid. Get rid of it. Second abortion. Alone, recovering, while he squandered their money partying. The third time she wanted the baby. He pushed her during an argument, and she miscarried. Still, she didn't leave. He left her. Why? I asked. I was 18, tricked into a pyramid scheme, disappeared for a year. My parents didn't notice. He found me, helped me. He was all I had. I thought I couldn't survive without him, but I stumbled and found my footing. Roxy transformed over the years. Laughter returned. Her heavy, world-weary cloud lifted. She even learned to make intricate bracelets, gifting one to my daughter with a tiny golden horse charm, a wish for a long, happy, peaceful life. My daughter arrived on a night bathed in full moonlight. The labor, from first contraction to birth, took less than 12 hours. At 7:40 p.m., with the moon glowing above, Luna announced herself with her first cry. Chloe chose her nickname, Jiao Jiao, saying it meant moonlight and fit her perfectly. She cradled the baby with awkward tenderness, never taking her eyes off her face. Our Jiao Jiao is stunning. Was I this pretty when I was born? I raised an eyebrow. I'm only 3 years older than you. Chloe pouted. Even if you were 30 years older, you wouldn't have looked at me. You hated me back then. She said it casually, but the words lingered. We fell silent. As a child, my feelings for Chloe were complicated. I did hate her at times, yes, but I also feared her. Yet whenever she approached me with her own clumsy kindness, my heart softened. Looking back across the landscape of my mother's lifelong neglect, the one good thing she ever gave me was Chloe. Chloe visits our mother sometimes. She once asked me how much I give Eleanor each month. $800, I said. Her eyes widened. She couldn't fathom how Eleanor could live on so little. Ethan understood perfectly. It's cruel, he said, but calculated. You keep her alive while insulting her. Fair enough. Chloe carries her own history and responsibilities. Whether she helps our mother or ignores her, that is her burden to bear. She once asked what I hoped Luna would become. I thought for a moment. Healthy and happy. That's it? You don't want her to excel? Be famous? Rich. I held Luna close, brushing my hand across her cheek. If she can, she will shine. If not, being a happy little slacker is enough for me. I spoke those words calmly. Chloe froze, a sudden sting in her nose. Her lips trembled. Tears formed in her eyes, and she quickly turned away. Her name was Chloe, the treasured child of the family. And I, Audrey, was her older sister, a flawless diamond somehow covered in dust all my life. Once someone asked Eleanor, Audrey is clearly talented. Why do you favor Chloe? Chloe was 8, I was 11. Eleanor, occasionally self-aware, could recognize her cruelty, but couldn't control it. I can't help it, she sighed. Audrey irritates me. She's not affectionate. You can't tame her. Chloe is sweet, clingy, obedient. Even if clueless, you want to protect her. 8-year-old Chloe didn't grasp the meaning, only that she was loved. Years later, a psychologist explained a certain type of parent. Some want their children smart as humans, obedient as dogs. Chloe broke down at that, sobbing. She had been the dog, a well-trained pet, desperate for scraps of affection. Chloe loved Audrey, though she knew the feeling wasn't reciprocated. Why would it be? That was normal. She remembered slipping in the countryside as a child, falling into mud. Her fear wasn't the dirt, it was her parents' cold stares. She feared Audrey would be punished for watching her. An empty room, a wide-open door. Audrey kneeling. Light ahead, darkness behind. That is Chloe's memory of that day. She doesn't recall whether Audrey was hit, or how long she knelt.
Her own role is blank.
She adored her sister. Brilliant, talented, perfect, but never let Eleanor see. When Eleanor punished me, Chloe secretly brought me food. When allowance was withheld, she gave me half of hers. All she wanted was for Audrey to hate her a little less. Just a little. They stumbled through childhood together. I pursued medicine. Chloe linked arms with Eleanor. Mommy, wouldn't a doctor in the family be great? I needed escape. Chloe thought she could substitute herself, hoping our family would let me leave. The little dog chewed its leash and ran. Only after running far, far away, did Chloe realize she had never had a leash at all. During 4 years of wandering, she saw the world and understood how small her cage had been. So when I needed a divorce, Chloe returned immediately, feeling free. She didn't hate Eleanor and Richard like I did. She knew, among all the children, she had received the most from them. She continues to care for Eleanor, but she pours her love even more fully into Audrey and Luna. She will ensure that my daughter grows up to be the bright, shining moon she was always meant to be.